couple years ago, I took the Jeep down to Baja. Had an awesome campsite, but it was humid as hell. One morning it was so foggy, I tried to use the roof light bar to kind of separate the atmosphere from the road. I realized that I needed something lower to the ground, light-wise. I needed some lights lower to the ground because it was just like... Anyway, and as high speed as the Proto Fab bumper is, it doesn't come with fog lights. You know, I roll solo most of the time, and when I first started this project, I knew that I would have to self-recover. So after the Proto Fab bumper install, I had decided on getting a Tuff Stuff winch. Now this is before the Baja trip. So I went down to their shop down in Santa Ana. When I was there, I saw their 19-inch light bar. I thought it was cool. It has like two filters, one for amber filter to cut down on dust when you're on the trail, and then blue filters for like whiteout conditions, for that fog situation or snow. You know, when you're in a whiteout situation, apparently that blue filter is supposed to cut through that. The thing is that I needed a bracket. I mean, I knew where I was going to put it. I was going to put it on the front of the bull bar, but I needed a bracket, and I'm no fabricator, so I sat on it for years. Obviously, I mean, I could have used it in Baja, that's for sure. So again, I was just kind of kicking myself in the ass. Finally, I decided to just take care of it, and this is what I did. So my initial plan was to just have a simple bar of steel or aluminum across the top of the tabs and then bolt the light bar to the top or below that. So I got a piece of cardboard and traced out where the tab holes were and where the feet would be for the light bar. And then I took it to my buddy's shop, but he came up with a completely different idea, which worked great.
So you said you wanted this 3 inches wide? She's off just a cunt here. Yeah, we're off about half a hole.
Really?
Beautiful.
Should be enough.
I know.
wire. Some Schmidt. Turned out pretty good.
Bam! Yes, it did.
That's just obviously sitting on top.
Right. What's it's underneath? Yeah, it'll be perfect. Okay, everybody, so now the paint is dry for final mounting. What I did was kind of set this up in advance. So this is half-inch bolts that are 3 inches long. And what happened was you saw the initial fitting on the tabs here, and it didn't work out too well once I got to the practical hanging of the thing. We had talked about putting spacers, and that's what these nuts on here are, spacers. But what happened was it was getting caught up on the round of the bar here, right? So it wasn't fitting in properly. Anyway, trial and error. I went and got, I started with 2-inch bolts, and then it wasn't long enough to let it hang low enough to clear the bar. So 3 inches, so this is probably about 1.5 inches worth of nuts taking up the gap here. So real quick, we put washers on there, then up through the holes. Flat washers and lock washers on top. And then the final nuts. For the last bit. Goes down tight. No torque specs on this one. All right, and then finally, the Tuff Stuff Light Bar. That's the end goal here, and we're using the factory screws here to screw these in. All right, and it just takes a 5/32 Allen wrench to tie these joints in there. Let me finish tightening these down, and I will get right back with you. Okay, I just wanted to show you here the cable routing and how it worked. So from back here, we've got the cable here, and then it runs down underneath there, right here. So it comes up in here. Red line goes to the power. Ground is set right here, and then I kind of followed the pattern for the Front Runner Outfitters light bar. So, which is this cable here, runs alongside and then up into the subframe up in there. But your relays are here, and then I ran a line under the coolant tank here, and then you can see right here, if you remove this rubber strip that goes along, this whole piece here flips up. It's just an empty cavity, so I ran the cables over there And then once we got to this side, here, I'm not sure if I can get the right angle, but down there under that tank, right under this part right here, is the firewall. And that's where I ran. There are two cables, one for the amber light and one for the amber light, and then one for the actual spot in the middle. Now that we've got the bracket mounted and the light mounted, it's just a matter of hooking up the cable. So what I've done is most of the cable is tucked in. It's a huge cable. So what I did was tucked it through from the battery compartment up underneath the subframe, and then around to the front underneath, and tucked it into this big cavity. Can't really see it. So we got that screwed in. And let's test it out. Shift you over here a little bit. And stand by. So the lights have two switches. One is for the amber, and one is for the solo spot in the middle. And you can also turn them both on at the same time. And then for that final bit, and bam. Now, just tuck it away. And there it is. Well, I guess the next thing to do is get on the trail and see how they work. Light Bar now. Good enough visibility to still maintain 30 miles per hour across the desert. And it's over. Hey, thanks again for watching. If you like it, subscribe. Appreciate it. Laters.